The next candidates are for Commissioner District 1, Edna Fund and Dan Keahey.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Good to see you again today, Edna.
Yes, second time in a row.
Yes, second in a row. We're going to start off with you today, Edna. The use of reserves has occurred in each of the past several years. How have you, or will you, help balance the county budget without relying on reserves?
One of the things about the Lewis County budget is that we have $110 million that has to stretch over 500 employees. We have to work with Lewis County folks in public works, law enforcement, and when you look at law enforcement, 78 to 75% of our budget of the general fund is in law enforcement and the judges and our jail. So it's always a balancing act when you're looking at our budget. Right now, we're having meetings with all of our directors and our electeds and saying, okay, what is mandatory? What do we have to do by law? What are those that are nice to do, but we need to cut back? What are some things we can do with what we call OPM, meaning other people's money? Are there grants? Are there other things we can bring in? On the other side of it, what can we do to increase the dollars that are coming in? Part of the issue for us is the timber industry. We used to get $4 million into our treasury as a result. It's come down to $700,000. When we have issues like that, we're up at Department of Natural Resources and advocating. We're also looking for industry to come in here, because if we get more tax dollars in paid by industry, it can help support all those sheriff's officers on the field. It can help those public workers out there working on our roads. We can help those people who are monitoring our health establishments. So my guarantee to anybody here, we're looking at every dollar that's being spent right now and doing that balancing act. When you talk about use of reserves, now last year, secure rural schools, we were supposed to get $700,000 at the end of last year. That was in our budget. And that comes from Washington, D.C. And Jamie Herrera Butler was working valiantly to get it to us. We didn't get it until February. So it's a consistently balancing budget month by month. We meet with our auditor and our treasurer. We meet with all the electeds to say, how can we continue to balance this budget? And what do we need to continue providing those services to our people? It is one of our custodians of the budget and also custodians of providing those public services to the people out there. So I guarantee you, we will continue to be looking at the dollars we spend, the money we need to get in, and advocating with the legislature and in Washington, D.C., how we can get more like flood mitigation done here, because we believe if we get flood mitigation in here, we can help attract more business. Thank you.
Thank you, Edna. Dan, same question. Welcome to you today.
Thank you. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. The use of reserves has occurred in each of the past several years. How have you, or will you, help balance the county budget without relying on reserves?
Boy, this is a big question, because this is one of the reasons I'm actually running for office. Is I see the trends and I go, we can't do this forever. This is not sustainable. In their own budget for 2016, they project that they would use $2.1 million to balance the budget from reserves. 2017, they're projecting that they would use $1.2 million from reserves to balance the budget. Okay, you can't do that forever, all right? They say in their own information that the lowest they should go is $8.5 million, but by the end of 2017, they expect to be below that. So you got to have a plan of how we're gonna balance this budget in the first place without using reserves. But then how are we going to build back reserves? Well, the way we get money is through sales tax, property tax, excise tax. All those deal with growth, and we have to be pursuing growth. We have to be looking at the process of bringing businesses to here. So what makes Lewis County either a place people avoid or a place that people want to come? And one of the biggest things is the processes. And I would like to see our permitting system as simple as possible so that we can champion it as a way that if you want to bring your business to Lewis County, you are welcome here, and we will help you get your project done as quickly as possible. We should be the experts at the regulations instead of the regulators, and I think we can do that. I think we can be actually helping people through the process, helping them understand the issues that they will face and getting them to their project as quickly as possible. I want to be known as the county that you want to go to. We have a 3,000 house development sitting out on Middle Fork Road that's been in process for about 15 years at least, and it's still not permitted. So why would you come here and try to build a development if you see that kind of thing happening? Now the word's got out. Benaroya was so upset that they went publicly to every other developer and said, we're not interested in going in Lewis County, and neither should you be. Well, now the county is trying really hard to get them back. They are all over it. They shouldn't have lost them in the first place. That's the point. They should have been working with them when they first came to town and said, and if you're not familiar with Benaroya, it's a large piece of property, about 400 acres down by Winlock, that could possibly be developing at this point if we had worked with them instead of against them. Same thing at the Port of Centralia, Port of Chehalis. We're making it more difficult to bring jobs in. The county took back the interlocal agreement with the Port of Chehalis. So now you go to the county, it costs you anywhere from 300% to 1,000% more to get a permit to build inside the Port of Chehalis than it did before. There's so many issues like that. I could go on, and unfortunately I have 3 minutes, and I have actually about 10 seconds left. So that's it.
Rebuttal?
Rebuttal, isn't it?
Yes. In terms of our reserve, the general, I've got to say the right word, the Government Finance Officers Association has said in order for a county to have enough reserves, they should have 2 months of reserves. We have 3 months. We're always monitoring that budget, always looking to see where we can cut. When we talked about the Benaroya Association, Benaroya Group in Seattle, I've been up there. I've talked with those individuals. Some of the people were not too happy, honestly, with the press coverage that came out last fall. And they said, we want to work with you. And they showed me their prospectus of what they had for Lewis County. When I looked at the prospectus, it had the #1 hotel that you could stay in was Motel 6. And I said, oh, we've got other things than that. Then they had restaurants on this Friday where we're talking with our legislators what we need to help Benaroya come to us in Winlock. And we got water and sewer to come there. So it's a big deal. Regarding permitting, we had a permitting task force, and we had some realtors on there, business people that were helping us. And there's also another permitting task force going on. We believe in continuous improvement. When people from Thurston County say, we'd rather build in Lewis County than Thurston County any day, we don't have the pocket gopher here. We don't have those kind of issues that we have to deal with. And regarding the property in Onalaska area, that property has been trying to get going for a long time, and right now is in their development stage that we're waiting for them. So, unfortunately. But we want business here. We all do.
Thank you, Evan.
Thank you, Edna. Okay.
Okay, so City of Centralia has financial policies that say what's the minimum they can go on their reserves. They also have, if they have to use reserves in order to balance their budget, then they need to set up a plan to rebuild those reserves very, very quickly. County does not have that. And by next year, they will be, what they need to have is $8.5 million by their own numbers. This is their own paperwork. I'm not making these numbers up. By 2017, they project to be under, they have no plan to rebuild that. And that's got to be first and foremost. I tell you, the budget's a huge one, you guys, and that's where we need to focus our attention for the next couple of years is how do we get this thing under control? How do we get rules in place that make sense, that will not hurt us too bad while we're making these adjustments, but also get us to the future. And what I'm seeing right now is just a continual draw on our reserves instead of any attempt to create a cushion there. So my first day would be looking at the budget, getting involved in the process, and start talking to all the departments about where can we find opportunities here, where can we get better. And the truth is, you've got to get everybody in the county, all 540 employees, on the same page, and that's what I'm good at, is bringing teamwork together. That's what I do in my real estate business. That's what we've done at the Port of Centralia. I'm bringing businesses to this community, and I want to bring that to the county.
Thank you, Dan.
You're not allowed another rebuttal, are you?
Dan, we'll start with you on this one, and
Okay.
it's a familiar topic. It's going to be on flooding. The draft report from the Department of Ecology includes 5 alternatives when accounting for the option to do nothing. Which of the options, which include a dam, levees, or vacating portions of the floodplain, do you support at this point, and why?
Well, there's been a lot of study on this, and ever since I've been in public office, I ran for office first in 1999, and with the city of Centralia as a city councilman, and then I've been with the port now. I was there for 9 years. I've been at the port for 7 years, and this is always the topic of discussion. And I've been in office during a flood, during the 2007 flood, so I've seen the devastation in my community and in all of Lewis County. We've got to deal with it, and we are so close right now. We've spent years getting to this point, and we've spent years in studies from way back, 1933. You can look in the newspaper and see what's been done, but it's been the same thing over and over again. This time, we're almost there. Hopefully, by the end of the year, we will have some kind of a decision by the state and approval by the governor's office. So that's what we're banking on, so hopefully we get there. So what's the best approach? The one they're working on right now. The one that they've spent so much time and energy getting to this point, and that is a retention up in PL area, and then also fish habitat. Because to get everybody on board, you got to address everybody's issue. And the issue is, I'll tell you, the people that are about fish habitat, they really don't care how much it costs you to go through a flood. They care about fish. Those people that are worried about flood, unfortunately, don't care about fish. So that's where the balance comes in, and I think Jay Vanderstoep has done an excellent job with the whole task force on putting it together a decision that seems to meet everybody's objectives. Now, they have one more to deal with, and that is, do we just put things in the river that will block flow and help places for fish to come? Well, it doesn't accomplish both goals. And so where we are right now is waiting for that final test to come through to see if the Quinault Indians' recommendation is an appropriate one or not, or a feasible one. But then the recommendation goes to the state. And I'm looking forward to seeing what they do. But yeah, we got to keep moving forward. This is important. As Edna has mentioned, we do get people that are concerned about flooding and moving into this area. As a realtor, I can tell you, people don't want to move in flood zones, but they're not afraid of Centralia, Chehalis, Lewis County because it's a flooding area. That has not been a discussion, and I don't think any realtor would tell you that. They just don't want their house to be in a flood zone. And it's the same with businesses too. As the port side, people ask us, well, we hear floods down there. Is any of this property in a flood zone? No, it's not. Okay, then they're fine. They don't want to. They don't say I'm not coming to Lewis County because it floods. They only care the property they're interested in doesn't flood. And as far as the freeway getting blocked, and that's been a couple days, and then we're back in shape. So we've done very good at flood recovery. I'm very proud of the process that Lewis County and the cities have come to recover from a flood. But the best thing would be not to flood again. Thanks.
Thank you. Edna, I'll repeat the question for you.
Okay.
The draft report from the State Department of Ecology includes 5 alternatives when accounting for the option to do nothing. Which of the options, which include a dam, levees, or vacating portions of the floodplain, do you support at this point, and why?
Well, being the vice chair of the Flood Authority, I've been through a lot of issues regarding flood mitigation, fish, abandoning the floodplain, moving people up on the hills. But we as the Flood Authority, we are for the option of having a water retention facility. Some people call it the dam, but we call it the water retention facility up by PL, as well as having fish habitat be done well. Part of the issue when you're building a dam, a water retention facility, is whether you have a reservoir. And if you have a reservoir, fish habitat can have more problems, and it's more expensive. But it could help out PL. It could have lakes like we have, like Lake Mayfield or Rife Lake. So we are wanting the best we can with the dollars we have. And we understand, I'm just talking to Jay Vanderstoep tonight, that we're going to be having a meeting here on October 18th at 6 o'clock to talk about the environmental impact survey that the Department of Ecology is conducting. It's very important that you be here, because if we say nothing, things happen without our say. So we need to be here to say, you know, it is not appropriate for putting people on hills, losing their livelihood of agriculture, potentially having to add a school district, having to build schools on the hill and abandoning what they have there below. So this is very, very important for us. And I have to disagree about businesses not caring whether there are businesses saying they don't care if it's flooding someplace else, they just want dry land. In talking with the EDC, we've had several folks that have said, we've heard about flooding here. Ben Arroyo said, when we Google Lewis County, what comes up? Flooding. And so that scares away some of their prospective people that they want to come to our area. Even though you may have a dry area, they know that I-5 closes, so they can't get their products out of here. So one of the things we have to be careful about is saying, what does Lewis County have? And I am so glad to say, we're probably within 5 to 6 years of building a water retention facility. We're talking about permitting. Jay and I talked about tonight making sure the permitting process will go well as we put dam plans together, water retention plans together, I better say it that way. And so when we look at that, what are some of the obstacles we need to get out of the way to make sure we can make Lewis County a very good place for people to come, live, and have their business?
Thank you. Any rebuttal then?
Yeah, I do. When she mentioned about Ben Arroyo bought the property that's right along the Chehalis River at the Port of Centralia. So tell me they're afraid of flooding. They know that that property will not flood and are doing what they need to, and they're in the process of heavily marketing that property.
Yes, they are.
As far as other properties go, as somebody who's actually dealt with businesses and not relied on EDC, and as a port commissioner, I can tell you that that's just not what we hear. And both Centralia and Chehalis, which are the ones creating jobs in this community, have very good luck bringing businesses here, even though we do flood in certain areas.
Final rebuttal?
I have talked to businesses. I have been in Ben Arroyo's office, hearing them say, now I know you're on the flood authority, because we saw that when we Googled Lewis County, and up come the flood authority. And they said, do you know much about that property in Centralia? And I said, I know there's been studies done. I said, I live close by, and we were not flooded during 2007. So they did inquire of me, and I know more that we work together with these businesses, and they get the same words from all of us, the better we are. I heard you talk earlier about Centralia and Chehalis and working together with the ports. We're all for that. If we are against that, we're crazy. We all have to have the attitude, we can work together to bring business and family wage jobs to our area.
Thank you.
Okay, this first question is for Edna. Edna, what policy changes or investments are necessary to encourage broader economic development?
When I look at what's going on in Winlock, and we have a city, a very poor city there that's struggling. They have overbuilt their sewer, and their folks there are paying really high bills because they don't have the industry. What we need to do, and what we're going to be doing on Friday, is advocating with our legislators. We need money to help that community bring the sewer and water to that area so it's marketable. There was somebody inquiring in that about 2 weeks ago, and when they looked at how much it would cost to bring it forward to that property, it was just too much money for them. So we have to help bring incentives to those businesses to come here. We also have to have a good place to live. We also have to have good education. We have to have good college, which we have. We have to market our community so people want to come here, that they want to bring their families here. And we have to bring family wage jobs. When I think about Industrial Park at TransAlta, that is a perfect example. We have 25 acres there that are ready. A road's been built. that we can bring some family wage jobs there. And I know Matt Mattioschi at EDC is working really hard with Alan Rowe, the director, on bringing family wage jobs there. We have to make sure that we're competitive with other areas who are wanting to build. Now, some folks have downgraded when Tesla was looking at us. And unfortunately, we didn't have the financial incentives that the other state could offer. It was billions of dollars. We couldn't afford that. So we have to have an environment and make it so that people want to come here, that our permitting process is as best as it can be. And as I said earlier, we have had a permitting study going on and another one is being conducted. We need to learn how we can make it as good so businesses want to come here and we have an environment that people want to live in and not live in Olympia and work here, that they want to live here and work here.
Dan, same question for you. What policy changes or investments are necessary to encourage broader economic development?
Well, first off, I want to answer one other thing, rebuttal a little bit, because Edna said something about Benaroya asking her, and I got to tell you, these companies know everything about us when they come here. All they're doing is asking if you're going to give them the answer that they already know the truth to. So, no, they don't rely on us for those. They already know the answers, and Benaroya has been here a long time and done a lot of studies to know everything about more than you know. Okay, secondly, she mentioned Winlock. Another thing Winlock could do that could be very helpful is work on quiet zones. City of Centralia is doing that. What that means is you have a train that goes through that town about 100 times a day, and it's blowing its whistle. So one of the challenges in selling property in Winlock is it's noisy down there. And they could go after the same thing. There's going to be a meeting, I think, next week on quiet zones for the City of Centralia. Winlock should attend that and see what they can do to do the same thing. So what they do basically is they do some alterations on their crossings, and then the trains don't have to blow their whistle when they go through. So that'd be a huge help. For the rest of the county, it comes down to being the best at everything. So being the best at permitting process. Now, and I applaud the county for what they're doing with their scrub of the policies. I also am very thankful that the chamber is doing the same thing. The chamber, both ports and the master builders started the process as well. Now, we've done this when I was chamber president in 2006. We did the same thing as a study for the permitting process, and then it was done again a few years later. This is the third chapter of that, excuse me. And we want to see if we're making any improvements. The county has been less than responsive to that process that the chamber and the ports and the master builders have started. City of Centralia responded within just a couple of days to their request for information. The city of Chehalis was a couple of weeks. The county has been months dragging their feet. So if you're a developer trying to come to this area and you're dealing with that kind of response time, that's ridiculous. You're going to go someplace else. Even though we like to talk about how hard it is up in Thurston County, people go there because it's a known entity. You know what you're going to have to go through, even though it's a pain. And all you have to do is look at the borders. Look at what's happening in the south of us. Look at what's happening north of us. There is growth going on. Why is it not happening in Lewis County? I'm here to tell you it's because of us. It's not because of anybody else. We're creating our own problems. We got to fix that internally so that people say, I want to go to Lewis County. That's the best, because they don't have gophers. Yeah.
Any rebuttal?
Yes. In terms of Benaroya is coming down Friday. We are presenting to the legislators, with their help, a request for $11 million. We did a study for Benaroya to talk about what will it take to bring all that water sewer lines to that area. And Benaroya said, this would help us out a lot. Representative DeBolt said, I need to know the numbers. I need to know the numbers so he can go to the legislature and advocate for us. When I've talked to folks about our permitting study, and I have been involved, and when the Denison study, that's a process that we're working on, we're almost complete. We were asked to participate during a very busy time at the county. Our permits were up 40%. And we said, we'll be doing this, but our permit time with our customers is really important. So there was a delay, admittedly a delay. But talking with Kelly Johnson, she said things are on target, so, and she's the facilitator for that project. Anyway, once again, I think we've all agreed, we need to work together, we need to make Lewis County the best it can be, and we need to take a look at those obstacles, such as flooding, such as our permitting, and what about our inventory of our housing? Because we don't have a large inventory for people to move into. And I've heard that from a number of realtors, that, you know, when you look at the houses that they want, we may not have the housing there available. And we also need to have community college graduates who are ready to go into the industry that comes here. We've talked about, you know, we're trying to bring people here, businesses, but they need a trained workforce. We need to work with the college so we can get that trained workforce, like we did with Cardinal Glass several years ago, to prepare those workers so they could go to work and they were our own people.
Dan, do you
Yes,
rebuttal?
yes, thank you. The permitting process is key. It really is. We have to be the best at it. One of the things we could consider is, once we have this under control and we feel like we're really good at it, is maybe lowering our fees for a while, maybe charging no fee for a while. That would certainly encourage a developer to come into this area. And we do need housing, and that would be a great way. Now, right now, if you go to the county for a building permit, you're going to pay an exorbitant amount of money. Same thing with the cities. You can be $40,000 in permits before you even touch the ground. That's ridiculous. If you want development to come, you got to entice them. You got to bring the cost to a point where they say, hey, I can do this here. Now, when you're talking in Bellevue or Redmond or someplace like that, and you're building $1 million homes, then $40,000 isn't a big deal. But when you're trying to meet our demands, which are under $200,000 homes, $40,000, $50,000 is way too much. You can't afford that, so you don't build. I know builders that have turned away from Lewis County that are building in Thurston County because the process is known, for one thing, but it's also, it's, sorry, distracted from a piece of paper going back and forth up here. Sorry about that. But Lewis County, it's too unknown. And I'm not here to rank on the permitting process. I think we are doing everything we can to get better. The problem is a lot of this didn't start until the election started, and that's really the frustrating part. And that's why I'm here running today, is because it's been frustrating for 4 years, watching things not happen, and then all of a sudden they start happening once an election starts. That's ridiculous.
Okay, I guess I know both of you well enough, I can call you by your first name.
Yes, please.
Right. Dan, my question to you is first, the possibility of a county manager system is replacing the current 3-commissioner format has long been discussed in the community. Do you believe that such an arrangement would be more effective? If not, what are the strengths of the current system?
Sure. Well, my experience is being a city council member for 9 years, being a port commissioner for 7 years. I've been involved in a number of organizations, from the Chamber of Commerce, being president, from the Christian School, being president of that, from, it's too many, I can't even remember them all. I've done a lot of things. Am I qualified to be a county commissioner? I would say there's probably somebody a lot better than me that could do this and that could take this county to the next level, that would understand all the agency rules, all of the laws, because they've been trained in that kind of stuff. And that's what you're talking about, is somebody, an executive director of the county that could handle those kinds of things. And we do a great job with what we have. But can we get better? I think that's possible. So then it comes into, and I can tell you, there's probably nobody in this room that's qualified to do that job. You gotta go find them, and you gotta entice them to come here. But I think we could move forward very quickly if we had somebody of that caliber. How do you pay for them? Well, there's all kinds of options. One thing is, if, I don't know if you know it, but this job pays $83,000 a year. Well, maybe I wouldn't have to work 40 to 60 hours a week, which I'm sure is typical. I mean, that's what I do as a realtor. I'm over 40 hours a week. But maybe we could cut back our time in order to compensate and relieve some of our pay to go towards that position. Or do we take it on and say, in 2 years, we will have generated enough income to pay for this job and make that commitment? So, and that would be that person's role, to be the one to basically pay for themselves. within that amount of time. There's all kinds of options. So I am definitely open to the discussion and then see if it is the best way to go or not. If it's proven that it's not, then let's stick with what we got and keep going as we're doing. But I think we got to have that discussion.
Thank you. The same question.
Mhm.
The possibility of a county manager system replacing the current three commissioner format has long been discussed in the community. Do you believe such an arrangement would be more effective? If not, what are the strengths of the current system?
When I look at how you come to a manager, like a King County executive, it's the vote of the people. You folks out there would vote to say, we want that kind of government. Then you take a look at, like, I think there's 7 county council members in King County. And it's pretty amazing what they have to do. And they could do half-time, but all of those folks are full-time. When I look at Clark County, who just switched to that particular piece, they're struggling a bit because it's something new, it's something different. There's also some people or some places, like Thurston County, they have a county manager and they also have commissioners. So you can have a variable of a manager that's hired, who maybe all the directors would report to them, and then you have the 3 county commissioners. So there's several variables. The second one does not need a vote of the people, just needs money to handle that. I think it's worthwhile looking at that, because I think if there's 5 county council folks for Lewis County and a manager, we might be able to more equitably have folks from different areas. So it's like District 3, it goes from Toledo all the way to Packwood. So it might be, if we had 5, they might have 2 representatives for geography's sake. So there could be some advantages to that, and you could have a better way of having adequate geographic representation. But once again, if you're going to go to a council method with a manager at the head, you need to have a vote of the people.
Dan, would you rebuttal?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I agree with that on a lot of that stuff. I think that's excellent. And I think that's a discussion we have to have is the manager form of government. That's what the city of Centralia Chehalis do, and it works very well for them. Now, one of the things people argue is that, wait, I elected you to run this county, and now you're giving that job to somebody else. Well, you still decide if I'm going to keep the job or not every 4 years. And if the person's not doing a good job, then obviously they're not going to, the manager's not doing a good job, then they're not going to be there 4 years from now. So I think it's a great discussion, and I really look forward to that. I think if we're really going to be what we want to be, and it comes back to this, what is our vision? We don't know what that is right now. And until we create that vision, we don't know what players to put in there. So, I mean, I've read the county's mission statement, I know what it says, but there's really not a clear direction of where we want to be 4 years from today. And that's what, I think we need to establish that and then put the personnel in place to make that happen. And hopefully it's the personnel we already have, that's what we want.
Yes. When we talk about the county's mission, right now we're going through the comprehensive plan review. So we're asking citizens, what would you change in Lewis County? What do you like about Lewis County? And what other ideas do you have for our county? So we are traveling down that mission road. The other piece I wanted to say, just going back to the budget, we have meetings with our folks to talk about. We have a budget group, we have a fiscal group. We are intent. This is not a haphazard budget, as I hear people talk about. If any of our directors were here, they'd say, oh boy, these are quite intense meetings, especially when we have to say no to something in their budget. Like the sheriff was talking about having 5 new people in his staff to be on the roads, and we can't afford it. So we are very directed in terms of our budget and making it the best budget for our citizens.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right.